Very good. Do you want to intro?
So, welcome everyone to the Sila program today. We're really happy to be doing this. This is a time of rejoicing or celebration because the dedication to Sila, to ethical conduct, is really foundational to the path and brings happiness and a sense of safety, happiness to ourselves if we keep the Sila well. And then for others, we're a safe being to be around. And I think even the animals sense this because as we're perfecting the Sila, we're becoming more and more gentle inside. So, welcome, Amy. Good to see you. So people are now arriving via Zoom, and we have two people here in the live audience.
They're live on Zoom too.
And so we can, Nyanika will be giving the precepts, and I will give a little bit of a talk on the Dhamma related to Sila.
And we'll probably end just a little bit before the top of the hour because we're going to have a volunteer meeting starting at the top of the next hour. So that'll give people a little time to adjust if they want to flow between the different meetings. All right, I'm going to share the screen for those who are online.
You could do both English and Pali, maybe if they can't find it, or
yeah, you got it.
You got it. Okay.
So we have the people in the room who will recite the invitation, and then also please, those online, keep yourself muted even as you chant along. Otherwise, the Zoom reverberates in odd ways. And what we'll do is we'll have we'll do the refuges all together, and then we'll do the 5 precepts. And anyone who wishes to join the 5 can chant along with that. And then we'll do the 8 precepts, and anyone who wishes to take the 8 can chant along with that.
But let's check in here.
They're going to do both. They'll just do the chanting.
Do both for both 5 and 8?
Yeah, they'll just.
So maybe if you can come closer so you can be heard.
And shall we chant together?
Yeah.
We'll chant together.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
that'd be beautiful.
Please, yeah.
All right, so we'll begin.
Mayang Phante Tisaranena Saha Panchasila Niyajama Chutiyampi Mayang Phante Tisaranena Saha Panchasila Niyajama Tatiyampi Mayang Phante Tisaranena Saha Panchasila Niyajama.
Was that audible? Could you hear it?
Yeah, I'm getting head nods.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Good. All right, so that was the request for the 3 refuges and the precepts. So please repeat after me. I'll do Namo Tassa 3 times, and then you repeat it 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
This was homage to the Buddha, blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. So we will do the 3 refuges line by line. So I'll say one line, you repeat the line, and we'll do this just in the Pali. Bhutang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tisaranagammanang nititang. This completes the 3 refuges.
Ayya.
Either works. Yeah. So we'll do the 5 precepts first, and I'll say the Pali, and then you repeat the Pali and read the English. Okay. Panatipata veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adina dana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Atinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Kame sumichachara veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Kame sumishachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
Musavada veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura merya machapamadarthana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Sura meraya machapamatatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drinks and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Sadhu. And we'll continue and do the 8 precepts. Anatipata veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adina dana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Atinadana veramani sikapatam samatiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Brahmacharya veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikapatang samatiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from any kind of sexual activity.
Musavata veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Musavata veramani sikapatang samatiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura meraya machapamartatana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Suraya meraya machappamatatana veramani sikapatang samatiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from the consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikapatang samatiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
Nacha gita vatita visukatasana mala ganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanatana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Nacha gita vatita visukadasana malakantana vilapana Dhamma mandana vibhusapatana veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
Ucha sayana mahasayana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Uchayana mahasayana veramani sikapatang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
Imani sikapatani silena sugatim yanti silena bhoga sampada silena nipatim yanti tasma silang visodaye. These are the precepts for training. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified.
Sadhu,
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 sadhu.
Vibhuta balapata pachekananchayango arhantana chitejang rakambandami sabaso.
I'm so happy every time I hear the refuges and precepts chanted.
Yeah, so this is our Sila celebration. We're celebrating, and all of us keeping the Sila the best we can. This is a training, a Sikapadani is the training, the Sika, someone in training. Sika actually is a word for somebody who's entered the stream. A Sika, and so they're in training to become an arhat. So we're training to be the best we can in this lifetime. And 5 precepts is a minimum to be on the path. If we're not at least attempting to keep 5, and then when it's just not like we're going to be capable of keeping even 5 precepts perfectly just because we've recited them. So there's an effort that must be made, and then it becomes natural over time. This is the gradual path. So I've spoken about how these 5 precepts are embedded in the Noble Eightfold Path in the form of right action and right speech. And it's actually more detailed for the speech. That I noticed this translation, it just said, I undertake the precept in English to refrain from lying, and musawada is actually false speech or lying unintentionally. I mean, some people I know for me, sometimes I try to avoid speaking falsely, and then I had a hard time, like at the chiropractor, because I was filling out this form, and you have to like select one response, and then I didn't want to select a false response, because, and then there's this thing about pain level, and am I exaggerating the pain? It's my experience of pain. And so you can get really kind of maybe over cautious. But just to speak truthfully from your heart, and as accurately for the purpose of what, I mean, in order to be able to be exactly perfectly truthful, it may just take too long. I've had that experience too. So I say, okay, this is good enough. This is close enough to the truth. I think someone who's a lawyer here might understand this too, where, are we bending the truth? Or are we just trying to be concise enough that we're conveying what needs to be understood in this situation? So, and then why are we, am I trying to avoid some detail that's gonna, kind of fluff the truth up, or to dismiss something that wasn't quite right or something like that? So you can omit, excuse me, I can say close enough, but I'm omitting some detail that maybe my friend here in monastic life would say, oh, that wasn't quite a good behavior, or something like that. So we have to be careful that we're not concealing the truth by omission, or that we're not bending the truth to make it seem better, or to not incriminate ourselves for something that we might be doing. So we just have to be careful, but not obsessive. There's a middle way. This is the Buddha always talks about the middle way. And the first precept of not harming any living creature, some say that it's not killing, but we also consider, like, if we are causing harm. And this is a challenge to many people. If there's insects or rodents in our home, how do we carefully deal with the situation without killing? And sometimes, like, this is the same, you can get obsessive the same way too. If I am trying to actually carefully remove some insect from my home, and sometimes we accidentally kill them, or I know I'm kind of traumatizing them by relocating them or something like that. So you have to just find a middle way of care. And then I've also noticed some people are more careful with the smaller living beings than they are with other human beings. So they go overboard in trying to protect and be careful and kind to the non-human beings, and then they're cruel verbally, or maybe not physically. So we have to take that cruelty, that we're avoiding the cruelty to all beings, especially other humans and ourselves, to be kind to ourselves, not to be causing any harm. And this is what the 5 precepts are aimed at as non-harming, ahimsa. Ahimsa is included in the 2nd precept. Compassion, the non-cruelty, and non-harming, as well as nekama, which would be more for a monastic, but renunciation. These are in this. This is a 2nd precept, right thought, and in the 5 precepts and also the 8 precepts, we have conduct, good conduct through body and speech, but they don't talk about good conduct. There's 3 kinds of good conduct, and that's including the mind. So the mind precedes all action. So the karma is actually done by the mind. And our intention, I was talking about, I'm intending to move an ant outside and I'm trying to catch it carefully and I accidentally kill it. Then it's not my intention to kill. Maybe I could have been more careful or something like that, but that's not my intention. So the karma comes from our intention. So also what's led by the carelessness is led by the mind. So if I did something too much in a hurry and carelessly harmed another living being, it's still a karma. I mean, it's not as serious a karma as if I intended to harm. My intention was to harm, but because of my carelessness through speech or through body, I harmed somebody. Then the volition is a little bit more negative because I'm not keeping my mindfulness. I'm not keeping my carefulness, my compassion, and my hurry, my sense of hurry has overpowered my sense of care. So then this is a cause for harm a lot of times to myself, perhaps, or for others, because I was so intent on getting it done fast. And sometimes some people are able to do things quickly, efficiently, and do it well. But if the sloppiness comes in or the carelessness comes in, like you have to know yourself. I know myself that if I'm rushing, I'm more likely to make a mistake. If I'm rushing to say something quickly to somebody, maybe I haven't thought out carefully the right response in a situation, or I want to fix this situation. I want them to stop this behavior because I'm convinced that they're wrong. And then I say something harmful, and it could be harming myself and the other person because I'm too much in a hurry to be in control and to change things. And then I think that this is going to do it. And I think many of us have experienced that. And then later we think, oh, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? So in the suttas, you see how our Sila is a support for one of the suttas that talks about it being a support for the Satipatthana, for the 4 foundations of mindfulness. But also our mindfulness is a support for our Sila. These 2 work together. So if we're keeping throughout the day, if we're working with mindfulness in all activity, through body, speech, and mind, we're mindful of aware of what's going on in our minds, then that will help guide our speech. And this maybe just slowing down just a tiny bit. There's so much pressure in this world, and we're pressured to go quickly and get things done more quickly. But sometimes if we avoid making a mistake, that is actually time saving. I know this through my own experience. Like I'm rushing and then I misplace something or I say something wrong and I have to backtrack and I have to correct what I did wrong. That's taking more time. So just slowing down, becoming more mindful, becoming more careful, remembering not only our Sila well, keeping our Sila well, but compassion and caring and mindfulness. So this is they have these work together, they support one another. And if we have no regrets, then this supports our, when we sit down on the cushion, if we've been mindful throughout the day and we're keeping our Sila well, then we have more capacity for the mind calming and unifying, because there's no conflict in the mind. There's no division in the mind. So the mind can become calm, unified, peaceful, and joyful. So this is our support for samadhi. These all, it's like the integrated path. Our path to awakening is integrated and mutually supportive. All the factors of the Eightfold Path support one another. Actually, in the it's in the Great 40. There are 7. Great 40 is 117 in the Majjhima Nikaya, and Sariputta, I believe, is speaking, and he says, no, it's the Buddha, I think. The Buddha is saying that there are 7 supports for samadhi, and the 7 supports for samadhi are the 7 previous path factors leading up to samadhi. So this shows the importance of our Sila, which is in the, actually, I would say that also right thought is one of the path factors that supports, or is a Sila factor. When we think about non-harming, thoughts of non-harming, and non-ill will. These are definitely, and then for a renunciant, the nekama. This is a supportive factor that's connected with Sila, or is Sila, is ethical conduct. So you have ethical conduct through the mind in the second path factor, and then through speech, samma, vacha, and that's more detailed than just not lying, avoiding harmful speech, avoiding useless speech. I always forget the useless, false speech, useless speech.
Timely.
Huh?
Timely.
Timely is another.
Oh, that's the list of 5.
Yeah, that's
okay.
the 5 factors. I don't know. I always forget one of them, but I'm trying my best. Useless speech, false speech, and
Kind.
Okay, we'll go with that one. Non-harming, harsh speech. You have to avoid harsh speech.
Kind.
That's kind. All right. So so these all work together, and it's I like to think of the this sutta that talks about the Nagas and how they're born in the mountains, way up in the mountains, and there's these the streams are very small, and the pools are small, but because of the bodies of the Nagas are small when they're first, after they hatch out of their eggs, I guess. I don't know if they're live born or egg born. But anyway, they start developing in the small pools, and then they have to go into the larger pools. And then eventually they're getting so large that they swim out to the ocean because the mass of their body is so large. So this is the simile for our Sila, because our Sila keeps growing as we perfect the Sila, and it supports us on the path. So we get more and more refined with our Sila. And then I think the great ocean is Nibbana. We can think of that as Nibbana. So it's a gradual path, and we keep perfecting in it. But it's also a feeling of it's all encompassing. We're supported and we're surrounded by the Sila. And that makes it possible for the progress on the path, for us to grow in the Dhamma. So I think we can open up now for any questions or conversations. You have some things to add?
What comes to mind is the sutta we were looking at ourselves earlier this morning, which was talking about not just thought, the thinking, things that are wholesome, that are forward leading, but also our perception. And do you want to say anything about how important our perception is in us being able to continue to keep our Sila? Or
yeah, perception. There's often misperception, and that's something to be careful of. And and how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive others,
and believing it as some fixed and
right
thing that's then we have to go to war over, and whatever.
So if I think that's it. One thing is to check with another person if we're perceiving that perhaps they had done something that was for a monastic. If another monastic has done an offense, the proper thing to do is to say, well, I noticed this, you were doing this and that. And that it was not the right, let's say for food, that they're not consuming the food at the proper time, or I thought they were taking something that wasn't theirs, or whatever it was. And then I asked them about it, and then they can explain to me.
I can say, oh, yes, absolutely, you're right. I committed an offense. Or I could say, oh no, Alex or Juanita had just come by and offered it, so it was offered. And then you can go, oh, I didn't see that part.
Yeah, something like that. So we check one another. We check our and ourselves too. I think there may be a perception. I have to really check if am I actually speaking truly or not. And sometimes there's this perception that it is true, and then I realize, oh, I made a mistake. So not to rush. This is a slowing down mentally, and not rushing to make an accusation or to assume I'm right and they're wrong. And this is or I've perceived that something was offered, and then I take it, and then I find out actually it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then it's not actually the same. It's not really an offense at that point.
In some rules, it's still an offense, but it's considered a lesser.
It depends on what it is. And
depends on what it is. Even the Buddha, who knew whether they'd committed the offense or not, would still make the inquiry.
Is this so?
Is it so?
Right.
I have heard that. Is that so? And it's a really good way that we can help each other. It brings the issue up, but it leaves the space open for the person to investigate and feel, oh, oh, yeah, I didn't understand that rule, or I ignored that rule, or, to really check in. What was my error?
Mhm.
Or was there an error?
Yeah.
Mm.
And then to be as compassionate. I mean, there's another thing too, a perception of somebody's motivation.
Yeah.
Was it a mistake? Or
Mhm.
even if they intentionally did something, to have compassion and give them at least a second chance of or the chance that they say, oh, yes, I did make this mistake. But I was, whatever reason they made the mistake, because we can make, it can be just making excuses for ourselves, or we can be, I mean, if you're generally exhausted and did something carelessly, that you knew you shouldn't be doing, something can be happening with that other person.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
we've all had those kind of experiences.
Yeah.
So to be, I think, compassion, err on the side of compassion when we have a perception of another person doing something, instead of jumping that they're just doing this out of maliciousness.
nastiness.
I don't know. Anyone we know is not going to be doing things, but the people in our lives, I think we have to have a lot of compassion for, because they can be unscrupulous, but they don't even realize that that's causing harm to themselves. And if they don't care that they're causing harm to others, then I think we would take that into account, and maybe we're cautious around that person. But to be really negatively judgmental towards others
Only hurts. That's bad Sila.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, this is not
me,
good Sila
Yeah.
through mind. So, and then if we start bad mouthing that person, then that's bad. That's bad Sila through speech. So I see Nicole has joined us. Welcome.
Do you want to open it up, or?
Yeah. So if people have questions here or comments here.
Yeah, we're getting into the subtler and subtler variations on Sila. It's not just a simple, I don't do this. It's really got to be well integrated into our life and practice. So
And the mind, and taking the mind into account.
very much taking the mind into account.
The mind precedes all actions.
Yeah.
So you could put up a virtual hand, or either of you here got Alex has a question. You want to come just a little closer and speak loud enough, because last time we couldn't hear you on the recording.
So my question is about, for example, if I take a precept, specifically, I'll say it's the 6th precept, and there are times where I keep it very unjoyfully. So like it'll, I will stop eating at 1 in the summer. And so at like 1:05, I'll be like, I can't eat. And like every hour I'll want to eat on certain days, and just begrudgingly say, nope, this is the precept. And I keep it, but it's not done with a heart of joy. And in that case, am I holding it wrongly, or am I just kind of, I don't know, is that the best approach, to just power through on those days when it's hard, or should I try to be more joyful in keeping it?
Well, that's ideal if you can be joyful, and then that's a better support than gritting your teeth and saying, I have to not eat after a certain time. And so you're aware of that pattern in yourself. So how can so I guess I don't remember having that kind of tooth gritting
I
time,
do.
but well, what I found out was that for the Western Thai forest monks, that chocolate was unallowable. I said, oh, I'm in the right religion. So you might have like set up a time where you have a nice tea and just do it like a celebration, like what your favorite tea and something to put in the tea. And I don't know if you like chocolate. You like chocolate. So what I've done is I might have a chocolate bar and I take 2 pieces and I think that this is medicine. It's actually considered medicine. So it's medicine for my to keep myself alert, to give me energy for the day. And yeah, I was a nurse, so I was even saying how many grams I was writing
Yeah,
down for
yeah.
a while, how many grams of chocolate, because I was trying to cut down on caffeine.
This brand has this, yeah.
So, so I was like, how many grams of what percent of chocolate am I eating? But something that could put, interest in, and you could get your favorite brand. It's okay to enjoy your favorite brand of, a small amount, not overeating. But just say, I'm eating 2 squares, and I'm this at 5 o'clock. I'm gonna do this and make it like a really special occasion for yourself, so you can actually enjoy it, and just rejoice. This is the thing where we're calling it Sila celebration, that you've decided, no one has told you to do this. No,
it's a gift to yourself.
Yeah, you've decided to do this. And keeping 5 precepts well is something to rejoice in. So if you're taking the 8 precepts, then there's more rejoicing, that because you've dedicated yourself to that. So yeah, so somehow if you can make that shift to instead of the teeth gritting kind of thing, yeah, then you can then hopefully that'll bring up joy. And Juanita asked something. Did you?
Well, yeah, but go ahead. If it's on the same topic, go ahead and go first. And then
in my experience of keeping precept, I have to ask myself why I'm doing this. So that if I'm using this for the tool of sati, so every time I break it and I realize that I break it, that will be one point of the sati arise. So I point at the training, so it won't. And then, like Alex said, it's not joyful, but when I can keep that in that moment, and then I realize it cannot keep it, I have to start out all over again. Start from that. Okay, that's why I know what my mental state is, because I lost battle to the kilesa of that eating this, then I can start over again. So the being joyful or not joyful is not the question. It's the question is I keep the precept for the training to improve my quality, or improve the quality of life. That's my experience of training for the precept. So then someday I take I Pavarana 8 precept, but someday can I make it? But I start all over again the next day. I start all over again the next day. Then it's not difficult anymore. It's like a normal, like a no dinner. At first it's very hard, and we have to learn the trainings. Then living with the retreat, I can eat 8 precept. But when I come back to 5 precept, I feel a little bit, I have practiced 8 precept already. Why I come to, and I asked Ajahn Jasaro, and he said the precept is not mathematics.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a number. So he said somebody have a good somebody have a weak point in this one. Somebody has a normal, like a no dinner is no problem for me, but entertainment is hard for me. So he said the weak point for you, that's you really work hard on that kilesa, on that poise, that the precept is that for the training.
Yep.
So he says somebody can do everything, but something very, very difficult. So you have to work on it. That's a training, part of the
Okay.
training, he said. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the joy will come, and the joy is important. Like you were saying, lack of when you're not feeling remorse for breaking a precept, but if you're forcing yourself, this is the thing with it. If you can bring up the joy in it, that supports keeping it. And then it's the same thing with the 8 precepts. Some of the, as a lay person, if you don't keep them, or you keep the renunciant precepts, that's not so important. But the 5 we really need to keep. It's really important. So we can't be like, oh, well, this day I'll keep it, and that day I won't keep it.
Not the 5 precepts.
Not the 5 precepts.
You never get to do killing.
You never
you
know.
just
No,
don't.
just don't. And Amy has a hand
Well,
up, and you wanted to just
yeah.
after this.
So on the this topic came up on the alms round on Friday too, a similar kind of question. And I mentioned that we have 4 requisites, as monastics. And the last one is the medicines. So whenever you're taking anything into your mouth after the solar noon time, it should be as a medicine. And this is a English translation of that. Considering them thoughtfully, I use medicinal requisites for curing the sick and simply to counteract any pains of illness that have arisen and for maximum freedom from disease. And so notice when I was talking about having the pleasure of the piece of chocolate, she wasn't saying every hour on the hour. She was saying, oh, about 5 o'clock. For myself, I was having blood sugar issues. And so I actually would do a blood sugar test. Why am I going to be taking this? Or I knew I had to take a medicine. Why am I going to be, is the timing. So timing was important for it. But then there are the cravings and the urges. And so I remember I was at a Loka Vihara, and I hadn't yet figured out about my blood sugar level. And I was talking to a support person, and I said, it's like my fingernails are just hanging onto the allowables cupboard, and I just want in. And she's the one that said, we need to test your blood sugar, so why am I eating? And then applying so maybe you do need a little bit of something every couple of hours because of your health. Maybe you can fast completely for 12 hours and be just fine. It's good, like you say, it's not math that everyone can apply the same.
But I want to.
And to wrap up. And so then for those times where holding a precept feels difficult, that's where I apply the mindfulness. What does it feel like? So if I'm working, I'm doing a different task, I stop. I may even go to my cushion. I sit on the cushion. I feel craving. I really feel craving. And then I sit, and it will pass. And that's when the joy comes. That's when the joy comes.
So let's go to Amy.
Amy.
And no, it's Majjhima Nikaya 117.
Amy put in a question in the chat, which Majjhima Sutta was referred to.
So then, Amy, you have a question
or comment?
Yeah, I was just going to add a comment, but essentially, Ayya and Yannicka, it was basically, I was going to say that it's an opportunity to watch the mind. I try to think of these things as an opportunity that, don't let that opportunity pass. It's so important to watch the mind and get to know it and get to know what craving looks like and what suffering looks like. And if you kind of skip over those moments, you lose the opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's the 2 sides of it. Yeah. So, but once we're free from any remorse, then we can rejoice. And once we understand dukkha well, then we really can rejoice. So yeah. So there's these two two approaches, I think are because if we do rejoice in what there's the regret over what we can't do well, and then there's a rejoicing of what we can do well, and these two work together. We can't neglect one and only do the other, I think. So thank you for bringing that side of it in. Yeah.
And Ajahn Brahm has said that, you know, the salivation, the secretions, the joy of eating is a part of our digestive system. We aren't supposed to be unhappy with the consumption, but we need to be in right relationship with it. So we understand food is disgusting. And we also understand that there needs to be, for the way our digestion works, enough pleasure that we're actually digesting it appropriately. It's then don't hold on to the pleasure and think about, well, there are 5 more of them in the fridge or the cupboard, or, you know, that's where the kilesas are.
So I think we're getting close to time. Did we want to?
Any last question, comment, or statement, and then we should maybe.
So what were we gonna go offline and then back on for the volunteer?
Oh, I thought we would just leave it running because we've got an unlimited thing, and just turn our audio and video off for a few minutes break before the 1 o'clock.
Okay, that's good. So we can, I think we should end with the homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And then we'll go off for just a few moments, and then
A few minutes.
If anybody wants to stay on for the volunteer time, then please do.
And I know there's a couple, at least one person that's hoping to join in, but couldn't come to to this time because of work.
Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivadin Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. With the YouTube, do we want to break in?
Yeah, I'm going to turn the YouTube off so that it's 2 separate things.
Okay.
So thanks for celebrating together.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and please stay on if you're intending to,
or come back,
or come
whatever
back,
works.
however you